Welcome back. You are watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they come into us. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with columnist Yasmin Alibhai-Brown and broadcaster Lucy Beresford. So let us see what's on some of those front pages for you now. Well, the Financial Times leads with President Zelensky and European allies urging Donald Trump to offer security guarantees in upcoming talks on Ukraine. The Times also focuses on the talks, reporting that Zelensky is pushing for security guarantees backed by European leaders. The Eye says European allies are uniting to support President Zelensky in the Washington peace negotiations. The Telegraph reports European leaders are urging Trump not to give in to Vladimir Putin. The Daily Star leads with plans for a nationwide horse racing strike in protest at Chancellor Rachel Reeves' controversial rise in the betting tax. The Express has a warning from health experts that 10 million Britons are addicted to junk food and a call for the World Health Organization to classify it as a substance abuse issue alongside hard drugs. The Metro highlights growing public anger over rising rail fares, with experts predicting a 5.5% hike next year on top of this year's 4.6% increase. And The Sun claims an exclusive, reporting that former Strictly star Chris Robshaw has called in police after being stalked and threatened. And we are joined tonight by Yasmin Alibhai-Brown and Lucy Beresford. Welcome to you both. Well, let's start with the top story, and will be the top story for some time. And this is Zelensky travelling to Washington, but now with that backup from European leaders that will be accompanying him when he meets Donald Trump in the White House. Lucy, kick us off.
Yes, in a way, we have to go back to February to remember that awful experience.
I don't think anyone can forget that.
Really to watch, where Donald Trump really lays in, and JD Vance lays into Zelensky. And there was this meeting in Alaska between Trump and Putin, and there was a bit of a readout from that. And then almost overnight, there seemed to be a bit of a shift from Donald Trump onto Truth Social. And I think Zelensky was always going to want to have his bandmates around him. But actually, I think those people, they range from Keir Starmer, who's going to be going, Ursula von der Leyen is going. He's got his team around him, partly to show a sort of unity in numbers and that strength of purpose, hopefully to make sure that Donald Trump will listen. But unfortunately, the front page of the Daily Mail highlights the fact that there's no guarantee of that Donald Trump doesn't necessarily listen to people. He closes his ears. But also some sense in which people are very nervous that Zelensky himself, for the best will in the world, wanting to fight for his country and get the best deal for them, might actually say something that riles Donald Trump and that actually throws all of these carefully choreographed plans into disarray. Not because he's a malicious person, but just because he might not necessarily want to do the compromises that Trump thinks are essential in order to get the deal. So you can sort of see this pincer movement. There's definitely a show of support from the coalition of the willing, and the FT in particular is focusing on what they want to hear more of from Trump, which is around this Article 5-like security guarantee. What does those 4 letters of like mean? Does it mean really hardcore money? Does it mean weaponry? Or is it just words? They definitely want to know that. But at the same time, there might also be a tiny bit of management about Zelensky himself. Don't dig yourself in too far. You might have to be a bit more flexible now.
The security guarantees are going to be the crux of it. I mean, we've heard from America that there will be an Article 5-like agreement, protections for Ukraine should there be another invasion from Russia.
I am still amazed that even now we've still got this kind of naive belief in anything Donald Trump says, and that we still think that a group of European heads and our Prime Minister, even if they go as a lump, as a clump, as a united coalition, will have any impact on these people in America and Trump in particular. He's a maverick. There's something between him and Putin that has long existed. I wouldn't trust him with a dead cat. And he certainly, okay, I know Zelensky was humiliated, not because he did anything wrong. He didn't turn up in a suit, apparently. That was a big mistake. You know, how dare you come to the White House? What I am predicting, and I hope I'm wrong, that this whole kind of coalition will be humiliated in the end, because Trump may even slightly give in to some of their requests, their never demands. But what he wants is for Ukraine to give up the territory, certain territories, to Russia. That's the bottom line. Now, we've seen what happened in Crimea, right, all those years ago. Imagine what it feels like to be the neighboring countries of Ukraine when they watch the West utterly helpless in front of the very powerful and very unreliable President of the United States. These are unprecedented times.
Well, we don't know that they are helpless yet. As you say, it's a prediction that you're making. But
it's a prediction.
What we must remember in all of this is that they've been invited to the White House. They're not turning up unannounced to, you know, be Zelensky's bouncers. They've been invited by President Trump.
Yes, President Trump, he loves the theatre of all of this.
Yes.
That actually, you know, even the meeting in Alaska, that was just between two people. He was able to turn that into a huge spectacle with the jets and them coming down the red carpet and then the bombers flying over. It was all about the television. It was all about the optics. So now he's got a cast of characters that's kind of tripled, and that's great for him. And the kind of calibrated uncertainty that he thrives on is something that actually, in a situation like this, where there has been logjam for years, somebody has got to make a move and somebody's got to do something differently. And the only thing one could say about Donald Trump at the moment is he's got everybody talking. He's got people coming around the table and they are minded to do things slightly differently. And this is what I go back to with this idea of what could a peace deal look like? Would it involve Ukraine having to relinquish some of that land that's already been taken? Is it about mineral deals? Is it about this Article 5-like promise? We don't know yet. We don't know what's actually going to be on the table.
But then there's been this meeting with Putin in Alaska, and he's got this is in The Guardian, and he's extremely angry that the media, Western media, is misrepresenting his great meeting in Alaska as an encounter seen by many commentators who know more about this than I do, or many of us do, is a kind of humiliation for the United States. There, as I've said before, and many have said before, there's something that Putin has over Trump, and he does use it. And so when you see Trump getting extremely overexcited about something, you know it must be true. You always know it must be true. That's when he is at his worst, saying, you know, they're saying this about...
He's got overexcited about
that the people are saying, he said that on Truth Social, that people were saying it was a victory for Putin and a humiliation for President Trump, and he gets very angry about stuff like that. And that's when you know some of it must be true. I'm sorry to sound so cynical, but I am a journalist.
But do you see any positivity at all?
No.
In the fact that Zelensky's going back to the White House, that he's being backed by 7 European leaders?
No, what can he do? He cannot do anything.
We've had a stalemate in terms of the war itself and the slaughter of on both sides, Russian and Ukrainian troops. Until Donald Trump came along and decided to bang everybody's heads together and do it in his incredibly maverick, incredibly scary way, nothing was happening. So you could argue that at least something is happening. But people are talking. What we don't know is what is that peace deal. Notwithstanding the fact that actually the coalition of the willing, and Zelensky in particular, they don't particularly want a peace deal without a ceasefire first. You've got to have a ceasefire. And at the moment,
which Donald Trump has changed his mind on.
Completely changed his mind, and that's the scary thing about him. He tends to agree with
anything
the last person that he's spoken to.
Anything they agree will be broken by Trump, because he is a maverick. He does not stick to agreements. He doesn't do normal politics. And I think we should be very wary of believing that at least people are talking is a good thing, because what he's doing, he's got his way every time, because he is the most powerful man in the world.
But surely it's better
Georgia is
not
better than
talking.
war.
No, but I'm sorry. Just
You would
talking.
rather have war.
No, I wouldn't have war, but I wouldn't have peace with a man I couldn't trust with a dead cat.
But how do you achieve peace, though,
nothing is-
without
You can't
talking?
achieve peace
without
with-
talking.
Well, I think there needs to be much more assertiveness by the European bloc. They're terrified of him.
What we had in South
they
Africa
bow down
with
to him.
the-
Look at Starmer. Look at Starmer's behaviour. You watch him with Trump and you are embarrassed. How giggly and helpless and hopeless and powerless. So I think there is a problem, that power is all in his hands.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do think you're doing Keir Starmer a disservice in that characterisation.
Well, we watched it.
He's heading with the coalition of the willing to
happened-
Washington.
When you look
tomorrow,
at what
isn't
happened in...
He's not the head. No,
South
no, they're all
No,
together.
but I'm saying he's heading to Washington.
Yeah, he's
with the
heading. He's
coalition
not the
of
head of it. No.
When you look at
willing.
what happened in South Africa with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, there was so much that had to be parked in order for progress and for the nation, the Rainbow Nation, to rise again in a way, that there were a lot of people who never believed that that country would be able to progress in the way that it did, to move on from the wicked apartheid years. And we saw it in Northern Ireland, and we will
It's
potentially
different.
we will
It's different.
potentially be seeing it here, that eventually compromises have to be made. That's the really hard truth about all of this.
But this is Trump.
Yasmin,
We're
quickly,
not
the last
talking
word.
about proper negotiations. You know, what happened in Northern Ireland with Blair and Momolam. These were grown-ups who were interested in peace. Trump is interested in power and in making America great again.
and
That's
having
all.
the Nobel Peace Prize. But whatever
But
the
it doesn't just,
motivation,
it doesn't
whatever
just
the
hinge on
motivation.
Donald Trump, does
And
it? It
we've
can't
got
just hinge
Witkoff,
on
we've
Donald
got
Trump.
Rubio, exactly. There are grown-ups in the room who have got an attention span longer than a flea, which I always worry Donald Trump's is only that short. But at the same time, he is the only person that has made this happen. We are only talking about these meetings and this potential for a peace deal after 3.5 years because of Donald Trump.
And
We're going
we
to
trust
end it there.
Putin, do we?
We're going to end it there, Yasmin, just because we are running out of time. Thank you both. We're going to take a break. Coming up, Beijing's plan to target the wealthy in a new tax crackdown and tighten loopholes to make it happen. We'll discuss that and other stories when we come back.
Go ahead, back white jacket.
Deborah Haynes from Sky News. He called you Daddy earlier.
No,
Do you?
he did it very affectionate. He, Daddy, you're my daddy. Thank you.
Leicester is on its knees.
They've ripped the soul out of my factory and there's nothing left.
It is eerily quiet.
It's constantly on the brink of capacity.
There's overcrowding. It's not a new thing.
It's rough.
There's nothing to hide. Why aren't international journalists allowed in?
Are you worried about escalation?
Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation.
The region, I think, is on edge because they are anticipating a retaliation.
Iran retaliates for the US attacks.
Founding principle of the alliance that an attack on one is an attack on all.
Could Putin attack another NATO country within 5 years?
I witnessed the complete destruction of a place linked to my childhood memories.
This is insane.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I felt awe when we saw the mountain gorillas in Rwanda.
We call him the king of the jungle. This is the alpha silverback.
Sky News, get the full story first.
Now it's right here in Somalia.
They thought IS was dead. Definitely not dead. It's alive and kicking.
It's the same thing happening again, only it's in Somalia and Africa.
Welcome to the Islamic State.
I want to find evidence of how big they are.
This is from Daesh.
I've seen what they've done in the past. This is like looking into the future, and it doesn't look good.
Are you regretful about joining ISIS?
We are under Israeli military restrictions in terms of some of the things that we can film, but it's important to be in there. What a slow drive for the president as he approaches his golf club.
4 more years!
Free wherever you get your news.
I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
Fire, shouts the commander. There's a dash to safety.
We've now got to wait inside the shelter to see if there is incoming.
I'm Deborah Hames, Sky's security and defence editor.
Should Russia's war with Ukraine escalate significantly, pilots like these could be called upon to go into combat for real.
Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury. I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul.
Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides, and it's moving this way.
Welcome back. You are watching the press preview. Still with me, economist Yasmin Alibhai-Brown and broadcaster Lucy Beresford. Let's kick off this section with the front page of the Financial Times. In this story, Yasmin, you can take us into Chinese investors seek ways to sidestep Beijing tax crackdown on foreign gains.
Yeah, so these are their overseas investors, Chinese overseas investors. The whole world is now dominated by this slice of people, global investors, global businessmen who have managed to avoid paying taxes through all kinds of tricks and legal measures. So China, when China decides to do something, China's decided that they now have to pay tax and they'll be watching them. They're getting all their information on their overseas gains. And there's a wonderful quote. I don't often admire China for the way, it's the way it governs, but this is something I completely believe and a lot of people do or should. Paying tax according to law is a duty, whether it's offshore accounts or you're living in China. And this is an essential for any country which wishes to have decent services. And here in this country, I'm just making a very quick comparison. Rachel Reeves wants to get more money taxing bets, especially horse bets, but also the betting industry is milking it. And we've already, before she's even done anything, oh, she can't tax us. And you can't have no tax and fantastic services. It's so simple.
Well, they're going to go on a strike first time in British horse racing
They do already
history.
pay tax. They pay 15%. It's just she wants to up it to 21%.
It's an increase.
Yeah.
Make it 25.
You won't be supporting the
Could
strike,
eliminate
then.
horse racing completely. That would be my argument.
Yes.
We've just got time to talk about Terence
let Lucy
Stam
do it.
in the Guardian front page. Beautiful.
Well, no, but you like him as well.
I
You
love
love him. He has the
I
most.
loved him.
What an
Photograph.
amazing photo that is. That has really captured his eyes, which were so hypnotic. Very famous actor in the 60s, a bit of an it boy, if that existed back then, because of his relationship with Gene Shrimpton and Julie Christie. So very much a man of the 60s, and then kind of fell out of fashion a little bit, and then had a bit of a renaissance in some Star Wars movies, but also Priscilla,
Superman.
Queen of the Desert.
Superman as
sorry,
well.
not Star Wars, but
But the best, his best movie is the least known one, which I saw years ago. It was called The Collector. It's the scariest, most amazing movie, based on a John Fowles novel. And those terrifying eyes, beautiful but terrifying.
And also I came across him when he wrote a cookbook. So it's
What?
called The Stamp Collection, and it's for people who can't eat wheat, dairy or sugar. And that was me back in the day. So I've made every single recipe from this cookbook, which you can still get on Amazon, I checked just now.
How interesting.
So very, very inspiring man in many ways.
And his family saying in the piece that we put out today that he leaves behind an extraordinary body of work. And,
Well,
and
it's
they
so
hope,
versatile.
Yeah, they
It's
hope
so
that people be
different.
inspired
I'm sorry,
by it.
all we women of the 60s so fancied him. Why don't we just also say that? So
He also got me through my O-level Far
you
From
were
the
so
Madding Crowd
serious.
English exam, just because I watched the movie so many times.
Oh, Terence Stamp, who died at the age of 87, will be sorely missed. Thank you both for taking us through the papers, Yasmin and Lucy. Good to see you.